Hi class, today we're going to be learning lesson 4-3 in our algebra book, and it's about being able to write linear equations in this new thing called point-slope form. Alright, last section we were talking about slope-intercept form, so this is a new one, but it's a lot of the same elements inside of it. So what if you only know the slope and one point? Do you think that you'd be able to write an equation? Well, from the last lesson, you definitely were using slope-intercept form, but today we're going to talk about point-slope form. So let's begin by being given a slope. So let's say that we have the slope of 1/2, and let's say that we're given a point that the line goes through, 2, 3. Well, let's use the slope formula that we've known for quite some time now. M is equal to y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. Okay. Let's plug in some of the things that we know. I know that the slope is 1/2, but I only have one point. So I'm going to use that as my x1 and my y1. So I'm going to rewrite this as y minus 3 divided by x minus 2. All right. I'm going to take it another step further, and I'm going to move my x minus 2, which is on the bottom, to the other side. So since it's being divided, I'm going to multiply it on both sides. That will cancel it out on the bottom. And so on the left-hand side, I'm going to just switch places. 1/2 times x minus 2 is equal to y minus 3. Now you might think, what is the point of putting this information in this form? Well, it's definitely going to be able to help you, because I'm going to show you in a second that using this form, you're going to be actually able to see a single point just being given this form. This point-slope form, you're going to be able to see a single point that's on a line, and you're also going to be able to see a graph just by looking at this equation. So the general form, we're going to put the y's on the left-hand side, is y minus y1 equal to m times x minus x1. And this is when you're given the slope, which we know is m, and you're also given a point, x1, y1. All right? So why don't we just practice doing something very basic. We're going to do this again, but this time you're going to see you're going to be given one point, and you're given one slope. And let's try to write an equation in point-slope form that passes through 4, -3, and has the slope of +2. So let's use that general form, y minus y1 equal to m times x minus x1. And all that I have to do is plug in the information that I have. So I have y minus, my y1 is -3. My slope m is 2, and my x1 is 4. So I'm going to subtract 4. There's really only one other thing that I can do. I see that I have two minus signs together, so I'm going to just change that into a plus sign. Y plus 3 is equal to 2 times x minus 4. And this is all that you have to do. If it's asking you to use the information to write an equation in point-slope form, you are done. So let's do one more. This time we're given a different point, -3, 1, and also the slope of the line, which is 3. So let's start with our general form. Y minus y1 is equal to m times x minus x1. Let's plug in what we know. The y1 is 1. The slope this time is +3 times x minus -3. It's very important that when you see in the general formula, you do have a minus sign in there. So if your point has a negative sign, don't skip it. It's still going to be minus -3. And just like in the last equation, I can clean this up just a little bit. Y minus 1 is equal to 3 times x plus 3. And I am done writing this equation in point-slope form. So why don't we see why this is useful now, okay? It's going to be useful when you're actually having to graph. It's going to be very quick. So I've already written down the equation in point-slope form. So y plus 2 is equal to 2/3 times x minus 3. Now let's look at some of the things that I already know. I know what my slope is. My slope is 2/3. And I also know, just by looking at this equation, one of my points. This is my x1. It is 3. And my y1, you might think that it is 2, but remember, the general form was y minus y2. So this would actually have to be y minus -2 for it to be y plus 2 that we're given. So that means that my y value is going to be -2. So all you have to do is plot this point, 3 across and down -2. And using my slope, I'm going to be able to go up 2 and over 3, up 2 and 1, 2, 3. Oh, I'm sorry about that. Actually, I'm going off the grid a little bit. Going to connect my 2 dots. And I have successfully graphed this equation just from looking at the information I can gain from it when it's in point-slope form. So let's do one more that we're going to graph. This time we're going to graph y minus 1 equal to negative, parentheses, x minus 2. Now, this might be kind of tricky, but I can see here that my slope, my m, is actually -1. Because we remember that there's an invisible 1 right there, and there's a negative sign, so it's going to be -1, which is telling me that I'm going to go down 1 and across +1. And then if I'm looking for my point, well, I have a 2 and I have a 1. So this is going to be very basic. I'm going to go over 2 and up 1. This is graphing my point. And from there, I'm going to follow what my slope is telling me to do. It's telling me to go down 1 and across +1. So it does have a negative slope. It's going downhill. Connect my 2 dots. And just like that, I have graphed another equation just by looking at the information that I can be given when it is written in point-slope form. So we're going to do one more thing now. This time we're going to be given a graph. Okay, we're given the graph, and we're given 2 points that this line goes through. It goes through -1, 3, and it also goes through the point 1, 1. So using these 2 points, I'm going to show you right now how, using point-slope form, I can write the equation of this line. So we're going to begin with our old slope formula that we've written so many times now. M is equal to y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. I have 2 points, so I'm going to choose which I want to be my x1, y1, and which I want to be my x2, y2. So I'm going to label this one my x1 and y1, and I'm going to label this my x2 and my y2. So here we go. 1 minus 3 divided by 1 minus -1. So I'm left with -2 over +2, which is the slope of -1. So using my point-slope form, y minus y1 is equal to m times x minus x1. I can now use the information to write an equation. But I have 2 points here. Do you think it's going to matter which point I use? Well, let's see. I'm going to actually write this twice, and we're going to compare the 2 different ways that you might use either one of the points and see if we do get the same equation in the end. So let's start with this higher point. Y minus 3 is equal to, the slope is negative 1 times x minus negative 1. So I have y minus 3 is equal to negative 1 times, I'm going to clean that up, x plus 1. All right, let's see if we get the same equation on the right-hand side. Y minus 1 equal to, the slope is negative 1 times x minus 1. I don't know. These are not looking the same. Okay, they should be, because it should just be the same equation of a line. So why don't I try to keep cleaning these up and see if when I write them in slope-intercept form, if they are equivalent. So I have y minus 3 here, and I'm going to do my distributive property equals negative x minus 1. And I'm going to add my lonely 3 to the opposite side. And in the end, I'm left with y is equal to negative x plus 2. Let's see if I can get that over here. I'm going to do the distributive property again. So I have y minus 1 is equal to negative x plus 1. If I add 1, adding the opposite to both sides, I'm left with y is equal to negative x plus 2. So they are, in fact, equivalent, even though the point-slope form using two different points does not look the same. It is actually the same equation if I just keep doing a little bit of work and I look at it as slope-intercept form. So I hope that this has helped you. It's given you some different ways now, given different information of how to write equations and also how to graph equations of lines. So come with any questions you might have to class, and I will see you at school tomorrow.